Today we're unboxing a package from Amazon and GAN. It's a little bit of a mixed bag here. Some of them are non-WCA puzzles, and one of them is. Plus there's a little extra surprise, I think, in the GAN box, where it's not a puzzle, but it's a new piece of tech, which I'm pretty excited about getting into. I wanted to try a couple of these other puzzles because I'm just trying to branch out and get into different things. So one of them that was from Amazon is a Kilominx, or the 2x2 version of a Megaminx. And there's a weird kind of triangular 3x3 puzzle, which I think is a shapeshifter. Instead of starting with the cool stuff, let's start with the Amazon packages. The one that I know how to solve is the 2x2 Megaminx, Kilominx, or whatever it's called. So let's dive into that first. I don't remember what the brand is. I think it's a ShengShou, but it was rebranded by whoever's selling it on Amazon. And the instructions are all in Chinese, but that's fine since I already know how to solve the Megaminx. I should be able to figure it out here. So, it's a little locky on turning. There's no magnets in it. When layers are aligned correctly, it's not too bad, and I like the color scheme quite a bit. It's a little bit darker gray than I think on a couple of the other Megaminxes that I've solved, so it has a little more contrast with the white. But I think, is there a cream color on here? Sometimes they have a cream color, and that kind of gets a little lost once you're in the solve. But let's just do a quick scramble on this, and I'll speed time up here so that you don't have to watch me figure out how to hand scramble this and fight with the lockups. Alright, and now let's get into solving it. So the way that you solve this, since it doesn't have the middle cap colors, you just basically pick a face and you start to solve it based on the context of, I started with the white face and decided, okay, I need to match all of these up so that the first layer is all correct, and then that tells you what colors need to go where on that second layer. And then there's no star to configure on the gray side or the last layer, so you just get right into doing all of the edge permutation. So you make the gray edge all face the same direction, and then you go around and make sure that they are in the correct spot after that. And I set the cube down to do that. You'll see that I put it against the table quite a bit, because without the magnets to help it hold its form, it does kind of shift around and become hard to turn. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I might buy some magnets and magnetize it, but we will have to see. Next, let's dive into whatever this octagonal puzzle is. Again, I'm not 100% sure who it's originally by. Amazon usually repackages these things under some weird name. So it looks kind of like a Pyraminx, but a cubed version of it. And I guess you don't turn there, but yeah, I really struggled to figure out how to turn it. And then once it starts turning, similar to the Kilominx, it's hard for it to hold its form as you're pushing against it. I am definitely not going to try to solve this one on camera, because even just getting first turns on it is a little difficult. So I think that I'm going to probably lube it up first and look at a guide online of how to solve it before I embarrass myself on camera. So now let's dive into the stuff that we're really here for, the GAN package. This one right here is the GAN Megaminx. Originally, when I was starting to get into Megaminx, I just bought the cheapest YJ magnetic one, and it's served me pretty well, and I do like that I was able to change out the gray side to be black, so I have a higher contrast. But I still struggle with getting the turns to feel right, and it just isn't super smooth. The magnets aren't super strong. So I wanted to try something else, and I like on 3x3s and 2x2, so I figured, why not give this a shot? I guess I have money to spend anyway, so why not just go ahead and do it? In the package is the usual stuff, huge instructions on how to solve a Megaminx, but thanks to JPerm and others on YouTube, I figured that out already. The little package that it comes in, I think you're supposed to rotate it, you don't just pop it open kind of like their other cases. I thought it was a hinge, but it's not. It's just two separate pieces that snap together. And here is the Megaminx. This one does have that kind of cream color I was talking about earlier, which I don't super love. And it's a gray opposite face to white, which again, that's not my favorite thing. I may have to investigate whether they sell a black replacement for that so that I can do a swap similar to what I did on the YJ. But you can see it's not completely flat. Each of the corner pieces has little dimples that fit your fingers, so as you're trying to turn it, it kind of works with you. You get a little grip. Let me pull up a scramble here and get this going. Again, I'm going to speed this up for your sakes because I'm very slow at scrambling larger puzzles, and so in real time this would take me a couple minutes, and for you, hopefully it just takes a couple seconds. It is a lot easier to hold this one than I thought it would be. The little finger grooves work pretty well, and the magnets are significantly stronger than on my YJ one. So you feel a nice little bump as you're sliding past one on a double turn, and when it's just being held in place, it kind of maintains its form really nicely. So I'm surprised by that. Part of the reason I got the YJ one to start with was because I was afraid of this being a little too hard to hold and do turns with, but it's very light, it has a good strength of magnets, and those little dimples do their job. I guess I can explain a little bit about what I'm doing since this is sped up a lot. So first I'm starting with the white face, and I'm solving the star, and then I solve the next two layers up, so the edge and the part of the star that connects to those edges. Then I'm just basically picking a color and solving that whole face, plus its two kind of external edges. So making sure those corners are in there, kind of doing an F2L step. And then once I have all of those bottom faces solved, and the only thing left really is that gray face, you have to get all of the gray star pointing up, and then you have to reorient the gray star so that it's all in their correct color placements. And then you turn the corner pieces the other way around, and then you place them normally. It's the beginner method. I'm not doing any sort of fancy algorithm, but if you know 3x3, this is something that you can figure out pretty intuitively. And I found that practicing Megaminx and getting better at it has really helped my 3x3 solves, especially in the intuitive F2L level. There we go. I really enjoyed solving that. It's a lot of fun. I love the color scheme. And like I said, it's super light, it's easy to hold, and those magnets do their job. So now into what will be the rest of the video. I splurged and got myself something brand new from GAN, and that I am very excited about. That's right, the GAN Smart Timer. I don't remember which color I picked out. They have a black, silver, and red version, and I think that I went with the silver since my desk is silver and white. I felt like that would be a nice little complement to it. Yes, that is the silver version. And it feels very sturdy. It's a little more flat and not quite as curved and sloped like the stack mat, which I like. I think it'll sit on the desk really nicely. And let me just see what I need to get started here. It takes 4 AAA batteries, 2 on one side and 2 on the other, and I guess that's kind of to help the weight distribution. The case also screws them in instead of just having like an opening snap, and I guess that's probably for, safety. It doesn't just like pop open or get shuffled around in a bag, but that does mean you'll probably, if you're taking this traveling, you would want to have a little mini screwdriver with you just in case the batteries die. I am using some rechargeable ones so that I'm not just killing the earth completely. Hopefully they work with it. Sometimes they don't provide enough output, but this is really just a timer and kind of a Bluetooth connection for a phone, so hopefully these will be more than enough. Let me get these screwed back in, and then we will do a couple solves with it and see how it works. All right, so look at the instructions one more time. I'm not going to start out by connecting it to the app, but I'll get to that once I do a set of solves in a little bit. I just kind of want to see how it works first, so let me grab a 3x3 and turn it on. and I probably need to scramble this so that I can do a solve. So let me pull that up really quickly and get a scramble going. All right. I don't think that I'll be speeding this up so that you can see the solve in real time, so this might take a couple seconds. It looks like a fairly good white scramble, and ooh, when you hold it down, the whole little ring on the edge lights up. That's really cool. I think it's on the front and the back. I'll have to check on the next solve. So here I am, I'm doing white cross on the bottom, and then I'm doing an intuitive F2L to solve the first two layers. I try not to rotate the cube a ton, but especially when I'm nervous and timing myself for something like this, I fall into some bad habits. 39 seconds isn't bad. My average is low 40s, and occasionally I can get low 30s or high 20s. I think my PB right now is like a 28. So that's not bad. And then the buttons here, so that side button you can rotate through your last 5 solves and even see your average of 5 right there on the timer. That's really awesome. And then the middle button is the reset. And I think, let me test this out, when the timer is running, the buttons are frozen. Yeah, so you have to stop the timer first before you can do anything. So that is to prevent any sort of accidental of a reset when you're slamming it down. Your thumb doesn't accidentally hit the reset button or toggle it away from the timed mode. So yeah, very cool feature. And now let's go ahead and jump over to the GoPro footage and let's do some solves. I meant to record 5 solves here, but I think that I accidentally DNF'd one of them in the middle, which sucked because when I solved it, it was a really good time, but I wanted to get an average of 5 on it at least. So let's walk through that. I'm using this with the CubeStation app, and you can set it to either be timed with the cube itself or with the smart timer. And if I had taken the time to pull the robot out, I could have had it scramble for me also. So I am fully into the whole smart cube thing right now. And I like that it shows the timer on screen as well. It's a nice little touch. For these solves, I've sped up everything except for the actual solve time. So each of them will take about 30 to 40 seconds, as long as I don't mess something up entirely. And one of the cool things here, which I try to show the camera and it's hard to see, it does show you how much time there was as a gap between when you let go of the timer and picked the cube up, and also from when you finish your solve to hitting the stop. So you actually do get to see, the cube says you were solving for this amount of time, but there was a half second where you went to pick it up after you lifted your hands, and a half second where you were dropping it. So that way you can kind of get used to figuring out what's the fastest way to pick up and start a solve, as well as finish a solve without DNFing or getting a +2 for edges twisting. I'm excited about that because that should help me in my training for getting ready to go to comps once the world is at least semi back to normal. And this was the one where I forgot to start the timer early enough, and yeah, it's a 39-second solve, which I'm usually pretty happy with, and I'm a little bummed that it didn't count in the app. But that is one of the nice things about this. If the app decides you DNF'd and you still do the solve as normal, you at least get the smart timer's actual time out of it, instead of just having it kind of be lost to the world. One of the things I've been working on recently is solving not just on the white cross, but doing a yellow cross. I am a lot slower at that right now though, so my average with a white cross is around 40 seconds, 40 to 45. But with solving with the yellow cross, it tends to be more like 50 to 55. So I don't think that I did one for this set, although I have tended to do them occasionally whenever there's just like a really obviously good yellow cross solution. And in the time since recording this, I have gotten that yellow cross to be a little bit speedier, although it's still not at my average solve speed. But hopefully that's going to end up being my first step towards color neutral. I learned beginner method and CFOP doing white cross exclusively. Doing the 2x2 color neutral for learning Ortega has helped a lot. in terms of just recognizing what faces are opposite each other. So, green and blue, red and orange, white and yellow. And I'm hoping that starting to dip my toes into that with doing yellow cross will help me once I try to go full color neutral down the line. I guess one thing that I will say about the CubeStation app, I'm using the version 2, or I guess the version 3 now, and one of the frustrating things about it is that when you are starting it up, I generally have to disconnect from Wi-Fi to download the update. For some reason, it does not like my Wi-Fi connection, and I just keep getting a server error where it says it can't find the server version. But if I connect over data, it's able to find the server, and generally I just have to download like a 2 or 3 megabyte patch, after which I'm then able to turn back on Wi-Fi, and then it works just fine. So if you are someone that has one of the 356i and you've run into that same problem with the new version of CubeStation, I recommend trying to turn your device over into the mobile network when you first start it and let that download happen, and then close it and reopen once you have Wi-Fi connected. That is what has solved my problem. I only have to do that step every once in a while after they have pushed an update of some sort on the server and it requires a patch on my end. Otherwise, the new app is working pretty fine. Took a little bit of getting used to in terms of it went from a portrait to a landscape app, which I don't mind a ton. I'm just happy that they're consistent throughout the whole experience. I really like that Supercube, also from Geeker, stays portrait the entire time. One of the big things that's frustrating about GoCube and Rubik's Connected is that whenever you go into the battle mode online, it goes from a portrait app to a landscape one, and just is frustrating that they didn't plan for that part of the app to work the same as everything else. I wish that there was an option that it would either always be in landscape or always be in portrait, so that you're not having to kind of adjust the phone as you're solving. It's especially frustrating on tablet, where how you've kind of set your tablet stand up or leaned it against something can be a little wonky and makeshift sometimes. And so having to change its orientation as you're starting a match is not ideal. Thank you for joining me and for sitting through a lot of fairly slow solves. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications when future videos go up. Thanks and happy cubing. Bye.